Good morning, Mr. Pritchard.
Good morning, Carmen. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you very much. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Great to hear it. Good morning, Miss Alexis.
Good morning. How are you?
Do you even know how to get on your Zoom?
Yeah, I got on
Are you on?
I love when I hear conversations going on in the background.
Hello.
Good morning, Miss Taylor.
Good morning.
You're awake so early.
Yeah, Luca was up at 7:30 this morning.
Hey,
Wow.
Taylor, I
Yeah.
sent you a text message yesterday. You did not respond.
Text message.
Yes, I sent you a message yesterday.
Oh, I didn't get it, dear. Oh. I would have responded. You know that.
I've been sending messages, but I've been sending them to the wrong people because I'm not looking at who the last conversation I had with was.
I
Well,
hate
that's
it when
not
I do that. You know
Ain't no
what?
secrets no more.
I do that to Bill so much when I send Jimmy a text message. I tell Bill like a list of things that, and then he'll text me back. I think this is for Jimmy. I'm like, yep, it is.
Oh, I didn't get your text.
Well, you don't want Bill to bring your milk home?
No, I treated him till he died.
I love it when people try to whisper under so they don't think we can hear. These microphones are super duper strong.
I know.
Yeah,
If you
sure.
hear the cartoons in the background, I apologize. It's the only thing that keeps Luca quiet right now.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Conference
Hear
call.
you.
Good morning, Darren.
Morning.
Mr. Derek.
Morning.
Mr. Putnam. Turkey hunter.
Hello.
What's happening,
I
brother?
hear you.
You can't hear me?
We can hear you. For some reason, you guys can't hear
Hello?
me.
I can hear you perfect.
You can hear me perfect?
Yeah. Well, now you start to break up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
That's going to go always great.
It's usually the screen changes to whoever's talking. It doesn't change when I'm talking.
That's probably a good thing. We don't want to see your ugly face.
Come back to the woods. Get in your chair.
That's why I'm not on video. You guys don't want to see what mine looks like.
Sure we do.
Yeah, we've heard stories what you look like in the morning. So thank God for still pictures.
I would break some eyeballs.
Yeah, those are some things you just can't unsee, right?
Exactly.
Okay, well, we're going to wait about 30 seconds. We're going to get this party started. See if there's any late comers coming to it. Let me just go into the...
So you guys are up and running in Winnipeg?
Got that?
Taylor?
Pardon?
Are you guys up and running in Winnipeg?
Absolutely. And in Brandon.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. It's so nice. I was starting to lose my mind.
Well, I'm already there, so.
Yeah.
We're going to get this morning started. So we're going to start off by muting everybody. And we're going to unmute you, Miss Taylor. I want to thank everybody for taking the effort this morning to being on this call. I managed to fumble my way through and figure out how to put a test together on the Kahoot because our friend Derek is unavailable at the moment. So I managed to get that done. So we're slowly all starting to learn all this technology together, which is absolutely awesome. So this morning's sales meeting, we have a special guest is going to be Miss Taylor Kilborn, who's going to be on, and she's going to be talking about the importance of committing questions in Thai towns and getting the customers committed and involved during the presentation. So Miss Taylor, are you there?
I am.
Are you ready to rock and roll, Miss Taylor, and teach us the world, teach us how to get 100% closing average?
As best as I can, yes.
Okay, well, girl, it's all up to you right now. You are in charge, and I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. So Carmen asked me to get on here and talk about commitments, and commitments are really, really important. And I learned this really late in the game, actually. I didn't ask a lot of questions, and that's why I wasn't getting the answers that I needed to, and therefore why I couldn't get over objections. So when I finally learned that what a commitment question is it's a question that you get an answer to get rid of an objection later on. So that's why they're so important. And asking more questions is so much better than talking, because then I realized that talking isn't selling, it's asking questions. And if anybody knows me, I like to talk too much. So it was definitely a big thing for me. Also, some things that I wanted to there's a couple things that I wanted to go over, like my favorite commitment questions and why, and then how many are actually in the presentation. I don't know if anybody's actually roughly counted. I know everybody's demo is a little bit different, so some commitment questions, I'm sure when Bruce does a demo, he says commitment questions that nobody would even think about asking, or anybody like that. Things that are important while asking a commitment question, and then actually committing at the close. So during the presentation, there are tons of different opportunities. When I looked at the demo book, I roughly counted about 15. There's about 15 or 18 different commitments that you can actually ask a customer. And it's really, really, really important that you guys ask the questions that are hard. Even if they seem awkward to you, like I know for new safety advisors, asking somebody, if it was, your kid, right? Like, and they could die in a fire. It could be an awkward thing to ask if you're not used to it, but it's so important because they need to see how serious you are about what you're talking about, and know that it actually is, like, you're right in the middle between being that person that could be the difference between them getting out of the fire, right? So just a couple of my favorite ones. It's really weird talking to nobody, Carmen. So some different things here. So my favorite commitment questions and why. So right at the start, it's at what point in the chart do you want to know about your fire? The reason why I think that one is so important, and I tell all my new recruits and everything that to ask that one, because they're gonna say right at the top. So the really big thing about this demo that I love is that everything is it's like planting seeds for later on. So when they're telling you that they want to know about that fire right away, later on in the demo, you should be getting that same question, and it's a reminder for them. Everything kind of puts a place in there. So when they tell you that they want to know about it at the top of the chart, and you say, yeah, like right away, and they're just like, yes, like right when it happens. So then when you get to the alarm kill, when you get to an ionization alarm, and they realize that they're not going to be alerted right away, it's going to be something that kind of hits home to them because they want to know about it right away. So the night of your fire, do you want to know, or do you want something that might work or something that will work? That's a really big one too. That's a kind of a no-brainer commitment question that you want to ask. And obviously just for many reasons. Because obviously they want something that's going to work in their home. Other than money, would there be any other reason why you wouldn't want this protection in your home? That's a really big one for new recruits, like anything, because at the end, when you're asking them to, like which package they want, and they're going to start, I call it word vomiting. They kind of tell you every reason why they wouldn't. You have to just keep in your mind and kind of ignore what they're like, listen to what they're saying, but don't try and what's the word I'm looking for? Handle something that's not actually the reason. So when they let you know that money is the only thing that would stop them from getting a system like this, that's all you have to focus on at the end is, okay, how am I going to help them? What can I do to get this in their home? So I love that commitment question. And then in the walkthrough, a really big one. I'll be honest, so Taylor, these things aren't cheap, but if this was to save Luca's life one time, how much would that be to you? I know that could seem like I've had some reps where they'll tell me like straight up in a meeting that they don't ask that question. And that is such a huge one. And it's just because it's an awkward thing to ask, but it's such a big thing because anybody's going to pay anything for their kid, for a family member, for their mom, for whoever it may be, to be able to protect them. So you have to get them to say price. It's priceless, because now you've just exceeded the value. Another really big one that's not in the book, but this one's important to me, is do you want your sensor here or here? That's really big because when you're in the living room or you're in, you know, a bedroom, you have to kind of keep it in the same spot. But when you're in a living room and, you know, you kind of have an open canvas of where you can put it, if it's in one corner or in the other, ask them, you know, do you want it over here, over here? Because one, they're picturing that alarm in that position. So if they tell you, oh, I want it over here, they've kind of already just told you, okay, that's where I want my alarm. So that's a really good committing one that I like. If a fire started anywhere in the red areas, when do you want to know about it? And that's at the page with the house where everything's red, and then you flip it over and it's green again. And it's green. And you want them to say again right away. And a big thing is even if they're kind of on the fence and they have maybe an ionization alarm, you know, downstairs by their stairway or in their hallway, you can go over all of the areas that they don't have something. So you always want to be recapping with the commitment questions. You don't want to just ask a commitment question and then just let them answer and say yes and then just carry on. I think you want to keep going a little bit more, and why it's worked with me is because when you keep kind of talking about it, you're having a conversation with them about it. So it just solidifies it more. Would you feel safe? Oh, with this protecting your family, that's a big one. That's a no-brainer. And one that I think a lot of people might leave out, I'm not too sure. I know at the beginning, we didn't really focus on it a lot. Talking about, and I know some people leave it out, but it's talking about home insurance. And I know I kind of said this before, but you know, when you talk about home insurance, you really want to know what you're talking about. So that's something that I teach my reps too, is that you have to understand what you're saying when it comes to that page, because this question, if it makes sense to spend $16,000 to protect things that you can always replace, wouldn't it make sense to protect something you can't replace? Like you have to, I think that's such a key question to ask, because it's true. Everybody, you can't have a house without house insurance. So if they're willing to even do extra, some people, they'll pay more than what the minimum is for their home insurance for those items in their home. So if you kind of compare it to that, and you never make it like a bad investment, it's always a really, really good investment. I always congratulate them if they're, you know, paying more into it. And then I'll just say that exact question, and I just wait until they say something, because they should be investing in something they can never replace. I can't really clone Luca, not that I know of, nor do I think I want to. But another one too, so things that are important. When you're asking a commitment question, I think there's certain things that are super important. Your body language when you ask a commitment question. So when you're asking those hard ones, you don't want to be awkward about it. Get comfortable with them. It's how you say a commitment question too, as well as having the rapport to be able to. So just making sure that your body language is good, making sure that when you're talking, it's good. And kind of the one other one that I wanted to talk about with a commitment is at the close. So I help a lot of newbies or current reps in the close with the call out. And when you have a commitment in the end, it's really, really important, because it's really hard for your manager to be able to help you close or help you get that protection if you guys don't have a commitment. And I know I'm sure managers, dealers can agree that it's super hard to help somebody when you have no idea what you're dealing with or what's going on. So a big advantage that I think that I take with reps with training or advanced training is solidifying what they need and what they can do to get that commitment, even if it's $5, you know, even if it's $2 or $10 or something absolutely ridiculous. At least you have a figure that I know I can try and help them with. So I'll just take it for an example. I was with Lindsay on the weekend there on Saturday, she protected her really like good friend from a long time ago. And when I was just asking her just simple questions, and then, you know, I asked her what package they want, we ended up upselling them because they just didn't want to leave out a room. But when I was asking them what package, she solidified a package with them. And then, you know, you ask them how they would do it, if it was monthly or if it was outright. And then once you get that monthly, we do down deposits. I don't know about anybody else, but we use it as another negotiator. So it's $500 down, and it's only, you know, $100 and whatever dollars a month. And then when they tell you, okay, it's you get the commitment of what they can do for a down deposit and what they can do for a monthly. Because if you get on the phone and you tell the manager, oh, it's just the money, and you have nowhere for that manager to go, it's super, super, super hard to be able to help on the phone close. So getting that commitment is another reason why it's so important, because you wouldn't be able to get as far as you can without a commitment. And then when you don't have any commitments during your presentation, when it gets down to the end and they're telling you about the research, they're telling you about all these other reasons why they can't, and you can't get around it, it's because somewhere you didn't have them committed. Yeah, that's right. What else can I talk about commitment? Carmen, do you have questions that you can ask me? If you want to unmute yourself. It's kind of hard to talk to nobody.
Not a problem. Okay, yeah, I can appreciate that. But listen, you did some great stuff there, and you covered some really good things. And it doesn't matter if you call them committing questions or tie downs or buying questions. What you said in the very beginning is exactly right. Everything that we say, every question that we use during the presentation is designed to eliminate an objection at the end of the presentation.
Yeah.
We all know that this is a reality. If at the end of your presentation, they love the product, they see the value, and they want the product, then you're only negotiating price or how they're going to pay for it. That's why those questions are so important. So what are you looking for? Are you looking for a conversation? Are you looking for a one-word answer? Are you looking for an understanding that you can follow along?
So when I'm looking for a commitment question, like some of them when you do, like, if it's priceless to them, you don't have to keep conversation about it. But like things like when do you want to know about your fire and why, you can have like a little detailed conversation about why you would want to, like, what room are they most concerned with, right? So when you're talking about the basement, well, why would that be a room that concerns you the most? So then you can understand the customer a little bit more of why they're committing that way, so that you can use it later on, right? Like when you're talking about the different rooms with the red, right? With the red and the green, you can say, well, this is really important. Because even when you're down at the end, one thing that I really love doing is when they don't know what to do, a customer doesn't know what to do, if it's to get 12, if it's to get 10, you know, I'll sit on the phone with the safety advisor, and I'll ask them and say, okay, Paige, which ones are they they're most concerned with? So then if you had a conversation in the demo, say Paige had a conversation in the demo about the different rooms with them, right, and why it's so important, then they can understand more why they need it in each room. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do.
You'll get more sensors if you get more commitments to different things.
Fair enough. How do you handle a customer who doesn't play along? For example, you ask a committing question like, you know, and then they say, well, I don't know. Do you attack that situation, or you just sort of fluff it off and keep going to the questions until you finally get them back to where you want them?
If they kind of say, I don't know, I kind of just sit there, and if anybody knows me, I'm kind of a little bit of a smart ass, and I do create the rapport to be able to be who I am in the home. So if they kind of tell me something like, oh, like, I don't know, I'll just kind of look at them and kind of smile and ask them, like, re-ask them again.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on what they tell me, I'll ask it in a different way as well. I feel that's really important too. I'm glad you kind of said that. Because sometimes a commitment question, when we ask it, if it doesn't make sense to us sometimes, or it doesn't make sense to the customer, you have to be able to reword it and ask it in a different way so that they do understand it to get that answer. I don't like moving forward without the commitment.
Fair enough.
Because I know that it's going to come up later on. And I want that situation handled right then and there. I don't want to have to deal with it later on in the demo because I get kind of annoyed with it if I have to deal with something later on that I don't want to be, because you can move past that point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most important part of the demos by far, and I think everybody agrees with this, is the alarm kill.
Yes.
And at the end of your alarm kill, what is the question you ask the customer at the very end of your alarm kill?
Oh, that is a very important one. It's a 3 a.m. one. If you're to have a fire at 3 a.m, how safe would you feel with one of these protecting you and Luca? And use their kids' names. Personalize it. That's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up too. See, I forget things, Carmen. When I was with Jasmine doing a recap with her after everything, I had mentioned to her, because when we were doing the alarm kill, it kind of just says what it says, but I told her to personalize it. And that really hit home to her because I used her parents' names and she just said, wow, does that ever make a difference? If you just said you and your family compared to you and Deanna and John. So that's a really, really important one.
Okay. Do you like to ask questions where the customer feels that they know the answer or are giving the answer, or do you like to ask questions where you are giving them the answer?
Even if they know the answer, I'll still ask it. Yeah. Because just because they know the answer, if you have a spouse, it's so important for the other spouse to hear that answer to the commitment question so that you don't get that we need to talk about it later on, like together. So even though one might know it and it might seem awkward asking a question, like in the alarm kill, when you ask them, how does it make you feel? How does that make you feel? And you already know that how it makes them feel, you still want to get them to answer that question because you put a lot of information in their head in 2 hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, when you're asking the questions, there's always, for some reason, there always seems to be one customer who seems to be paying more attention. They just seem to be understanding, or they like the way you're giving the information, or whatever the case may be. How important is it to keep asking the question to the same person who's always giving you the right answers?
It's really important, but at the same time, like, you have to pay attention to the other spouse. It's so funny when I have rookies do this and they look at me, they'll call me after in a demo and they say, Taylor, I don't know what's going on. The husband was completely sold. It was just the wife. So I'd ask them, in your presentation, did you focus more on the husband or the wife, or were you one-sided? And then they're like, yeah, you know what? I asked more questions to the husband because he was giving me all the answers really fast.
That was a trick question I gave you, by the way.
Okay, good. Because when the other one's not answering any questions, that's where you got to start using first names, and you have to start asking them the commitment questions and kind of go back and forth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to add there, Miss Taylor?
Not unless anybody has questions, like commitments. Like when I first started sales, I just talked. I didn't ask questions. I didn't really, because it doesn't cause any urgency either when you're not asking them questions. You're kind of just talking to them. Mm-hmm. So the commitment questions they're there for a reason. And I love that in the demo book, they're right there.
Absolutely.
They're literally right in red in your demo book. So you're kind of doing a disservice to yourself if you're not asking those questions and you're kind of skimming over them and being able to, in the walkthrough, ask them, you know, do you want your sensor here or here? Right? It's all those little commitments that actually make the difference, because in the end, like, you guys are the superheroes you know, like being able to protect them, but they're the bigger superhero for protecting their family. So if they don't feel like that, then it's not really like I don't know. I don't feel like I did my job if they don't feel like they're a superhero, you know what I mean? For protecting their home. And being able just to ask the commitment questions and to talk with them about it, about those different answers and about the different questions, it makes the biggest difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Taylor, for being on this morning. That's absolutely awesome and great information. And it's exactly that. When we all started, salesperson, we had to have the gift to gab. We had to have the ability to talk people into things. We had to have the ability to convince people to think the way we thought. And so most of us got really good at telling a story, but we didn't get good at asking questions. And we didn't realize that the easiest way to get someone to see your point of view is to ask the right questions. Questions being asked allows you to get the customer thinking in a different way than they may be thinking to begin with. And if you're asking the right questions, you're going to get customers saying, I never thought of it that way, or I never thought of those things. And if you get really good at asking the right questions with a smile, and as you said, being comfortable, the body language, because at the end of our presentation, whether they get protected or not, they are better protected than when we started because they understand the importance of fire, they understand all of those things. So learning to ask those questions, learning to ask the committing questions, learning to get the customers going along, asking something as simple as saying, you know, anybody coming into your home, Taylor, can see how much you absolutely love your family, and anything you can do to protect your family, you would do, wouldn't you? You know, just asking, as you said, asking a question, if they don't answer it, changing it around. You know, asking a question of, you know, so, you know, should you put a protection, a alarm in this room? And the customer doesn't answer properly, or I don't know. Okay, well, let me ask you a question. If there was a fire in this room, how fast do you want to know about it? I want to know right away. So do you think you should put one in this room?
Exactly.
The customer says, yes, they just bought. They did two things. They committed, but they also bought. They just finished saying to you, yes, we should put one in this room, and we don't have one in this room. And that's what buying questions are all about, committing questions, tie downs. If you learn to get really good at those, you don't have to get good at closing. Selling is not convincing somebody to do something they don't want to do. Selling is helping somebody do something they do want to do, and that's what our presentation is all about. So I want to thank everybody this morning for being on this call. Taylor, absolutely awesome advice. Really, really good ideas there and good tie downs. A couple of things to go over. Number one, the code for to test today is 08847-586. 08847-586. We also have everybody who's on Survivor Island. So I want to give you guys also little things. I need to, by Friday, 3 different ways on how you would overcome, I want to think about it, objection. I want 3 different ways in how you want to overcome the I want to think about it, objection. I want to thank everybody being on the call this morning. Let's have a fantastic day. I want to thank everybody on this call for being on the call for the whole month. Most of you people have been here every single day, and I really appreciate it. My favorite movie is probably Pulp Fiction, and not for the content of the movie. But if you've ever watched Pulp Fiction, you have a whole bunch of little stories that seem completely random, that don't make any sense whatsoever until the end of the movie, where they all come together and now all of a sudden it makes sense. And it's the same thing. All of you people who've made it the effort to be on these calls, who've taken down notes, who participated in the test, when this whole situation is over, you are going to be so much farther ahead than everybody else who's been sitting there waiting, who are going to try to catch up. Those people who were on the calls yesterday when they showed how to do the 2,500 Visa gift, April's call when she explained how to run a marketing department. Everybody, every one of you safety advisors who have been on this call, who are learning to be better safety advisors, who are understanding the business, who some of you, many of you are probably going to have the goal of being a dealer of your own, are going to be so much farther ahead than all of those people who thought that this wasn't important right now. They'll learn it later on. And I want to thank you and I want to appreciate you for everything you've done. We're going to keep going. Tomorrow is going to be another meeting. Going to be a great meeting tomorrow also. I'm closing. Let's have a fantastic day. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Taylor. Awesome job.
Thank you. Bye.